This is a driver who beat Max Verstappen, who won races,
Celebrations for Daniel Ricciardo,
who millions of fans loved more than any champion on the grid. And one day, a Formula One team handed him a fortune, not to race for them, but to leave, to pack up, smile for the cameras, and disappear. He didn't get fired. He had a contract. They couldn't fire him. So they did something colder. They bought him out of his own career and replaced him with a 21-year-old. This is the story of the driver Formula One paid to vanish. But here's the part that should stop you. Teams move drivers around all the time. So why, with this one, did Formula One decide it was easier to make him disappear than to simply let him race out a contract he had every right to keep? Hold on to that question, because the answer is the coldest thing about this sport. Let's start with what they were trying to remove, because it wasn't a nobody. At Red Bull, this driver did something almost no one in the sport has ever managed. He shared a garage with Max Verstappen, the most ruthless young talent in a generation, and he outraced him. China, 2018. From 6th on the road, on fresh tires and pure nerve, he carved past 4 world championships worth of drivers in a handful of laps, stuffing the car down the inside of men twice his trophy count, from distances the commentators called impossible. Afterwards, asked how he dared the moves, he just grinned and said, "Sometimes you've just got to lick the stamp and send it." That was the whole man in one sentence. The late-breaking lunges from impossibly far back. The overtakes everyone called suicidal, right up until they worked. They called him the honey badger. Cute, until it goes after something bigger than itself. For a few seasons, he was, by a real argument, the best wheel-to-wheel racer alive.
Daniel Ricciardo now comes to take the checkered flag and win for a second time.
And then there was the thing that set him apart from every cold, media-trained machine on that grid. People actually liked him. He laughed. He drank champagne out of his own sweaty racing boot, and made executives in suits do it too. The grandstands chanted his name. Sponsors fought over him. In a paddock that manufactures robots, Daniel Ricciardo was unmistakably a person, the most liked driver of his entire era. And that, it would turn out, counted for nothing. In 2020, he made what looked like the smartest move of his career. He left Renault and signed for McLaren, a fallen giant, clearly clawing its way back to the front. It was supposed to be the move that delivered him to a championship. It was the trap that ended him. Here's what nobody tells you when you sign a Formula One contract. The car is not a neutral machine. It is built, deliberately, around one driver's instincts. And the McLaren had been shaped around the reflexes of a 20-year-old kid named Lando Norris. It demanded a very specific kind of bravery. The front end stabbed hard into the corner, the rear deliberately loose and alive. The whole car balanced on a knife's edge that punished hesitation. It was, in every way that mattered, the exact opposite of everything Daniel Ricciardo's body had spent 15 years learning to do. He hadn't lost his talent. He'd signed up to drive a car, engineered against it. And this is where it stops being a racing story and starts being something harder to watch. Because a driver losing his pace is normal. It happens to everyone, eventually. But it usually happens quietly, in testing, in the data, behind closed garage doors. Ricciardo didn't get that mercy. His decline was broadcast, live, to the entire planet. Every 2 weeks, on schedule, the most liked man in the sport was put on television, and slowly taken apart by his own car. Weekend after weekend, the timing screens told the same story. Norris, younger, cheaper, completely at home in the car, would qualify 5th, 6th, 7th. And in the identical machine, same engine, same wing, same everything, Ricciardo would be 2, 3, sometimes 4/10ths slower. By 2022, the season-long scoreline was almost too lopsided to look at. Norris piling up points while Ricciardo scraped a fraction of his total. The 8-time race winner, reduced to fighting over the lower end of the top 10 on his good days, the back half of the field on his bad ones. In Formula One, 4/10 is an eternity. 4/10 is the gap between a hero and a passenger. And the man who used to be the benchmark, the one who beat Verstappen, was now slower than the kid in the next garage. In public, on a loop. The commentators started choosing their words carefully. The paddock started whispering. He tried everything. New setups, rewiring his own driving style mid-career, forcing his hands to do the thing the car wanted instead of the thing they knew. Some weekends, he was visibly wrestling the thing. Most weekends, the car won. And then, for one single Sunday, the universe relented. Monza, September 2021, the Italian Grand Prix. Everything that had gone wrong for a year went perfectly right for 90 minutes. He nailed the start of his life, led into the first corner and never looked back. Norris tucked in behind him. A McLaren won too, the team's first victory in nearly a decade. He crossed the line, and the radio detonated. For one afternoon, the old Daniel was back. The real smile. The boot came out. The whole sport remembered, all at once, why it had loved him. It should have been the turning point. It was the last great day of his career. Because Formula One does not run on great days. It runs on arithmetic. And while Ricciardo was spraying champagne in Italy, in a quiet office in Woking, the people who actually controlled his future had already started doing the math on how to get rid of him. By the middle of 2022, McLaren had decided he was not the future. They wanted him gone. There was just one enormous problem. They couldn't do it because his contract didn't end in 2022. It ran through 2023. And here is the single detail that the entire story turns on. Ricciardo held the option on that final year. Not the team. Him. The only human being who could legally end that deal early was the man they were trying to remove. They couldn't fire him. They couldn't bench him. By the letter of the contract, he could have folded his arms, said the word no, and collected a full racing salary for another entire season, in a seat the whole sport now wanted to hand to someone else. And that is the answer to the question from the very start. Why pay to make him vanish instead of just letting him race out the year? Because there was someone else. Someone they could not afford to lose while they waited. A 21-year-old. A Formula 2 champion named Oscar Piastri. Rated so highly that a rival team had already tried to announce him, only for the kid to go public and tell the world they didn't own him. Piastri was the most coveted young driver on the planet. Wait one more season, and someone else would take him. And the only thing standing between McLaren and the prize of the entire market was the contract of the man they'd already decided they were done with. So the team's CEO went on the record and used one very careful word. He said there were mechanisms by which the driver and team could part ways. Mechanisms. That's not racing language. That's the language of a boardroom. That's the word you reach for when what you actually mean is, we are going to make this man an offer he is not allowed to refuse. The mechanism was money. So began one of the strangest negotiations in modern Formula One. Not a salary dispute, not a contract fight, a buyout, a team openly trying to pay a driver to stop existing. The report said his side wanted $21 million to walk away. And why on earth wouldn't he? He held every card. He had every legal right to that seat. If they wanted him gone badly enough to break their own contract, then they were going to pay for the privilege. The number got negotiated. The variables picked over. What he'd earn elsewhere. Whether he'd find another seat at all. Every strand of a man's future reduced to a figure on a spreadsheet. And when it was finished, the agreed price to make Daniel Ricciardo disappear came to around $18 million. $18 million. Not to win. Not for a title. Not to drive a single lap. $18 million for a man to take off his helmet, smile one last time for the cameras, and walk out of the sport, so that someone younger and cheaper could have his place. He posted the goodbye himself. He called it bittersweet. He thanked everyone, said he had no regrets. Read it again, though, and you can see exactly what it was. A man, quietly removed, handed a check, and asked to stand in front of the world and pretend the leaving had been his own idea. And if you're waiting for the part where this turns into a tragedy, where the team regrets it, where it all goes wrong without him, brace yourself, because it didn't. It went right. And that's so much worse. His replacement, Oscar Piastri, climbed into that exact car, the one that broke Ricciardo, and became one of the fastest drivers in the world, winning, fighting for championships. In the machine everyone said was the problem, which means McLaren didn't make a mistake. They made a calculation, and the calculation was correct. And before you feel too sorry for Daniel, don't. He walked away with $18 million and that same smile, and a good life waiting for him. He was always going to be fine.